It's time for a special edition of Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here. We just got off the announcement of Windows 11. Paul and Mary Jo have received some briefing materials. We are going to break down what's new in Windows 11, some big surprises, and some disappointments. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 730, recorded Thursday, June 24th, 2021. The new Windows. This episode of Windows Weekly is brought to you by Worldwide Technology and NetApp. With an innovative culture, thousands of IT engineers, application developers, unmatched labs, and integration centers for testing and deploying technology at scale, WWT helps customers bridge the gap between strategy and execution. To learn more about WWT, visit wwt.com/twit. And by AT&T Active Armor. We rely so much on our phones these days and are always on them, whether it's live streaming content, catching up with family on weekly video calls, or watching your favorite podcast. There's no room for fraud calls. Thankfully, AT&T makes customer security a priority, helping block those pesky calls. It's not complicated. AT&T Active Armor. 24/7 proactive network security and fraud call blocking to help stop threats at no extra charge. Compatible device and service required. Visit att.com/activearmor for details. It's time for Windows Weekly, the Windows 11 version. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here. Earlier today, Microsoft announced Windows 11, Panos Panay, Satya Nadella. The three of us watched live. I think I can I say now that you've been briefed? You wouldn't say that before, but I think that's what it was, yes?
We got the assets.
In a very minor way.
You got the assets.
You got assets.
You got assets. Microsoft also has launched a Windows 11 website on the Microsoft page with all the doohickeys in it. Wait a minute, let me refresh the page so you can see the pretty graphics. Ooh, it's a big wave of paper folded. So, we're going to do, this show will pretty much be just, what's new in Windows 11. I guess we should start by saying, how much was this like the leaked build that you were playing with earlier, Paul?
Very much. In fact, I think I commented at some point that the tray area, where the clock is, and the action center button and so forth, would almost certainly be different. And then they showed it off and it was exactly the same. So that little bit looks just like Windows 10, but the rest of the desktop, the thing you first see, is different. Centered icon, center start button, new task, start menu, new recycle bin. And then they showed off some stuff that wasn't in the leaked build, including a new action center UI, which I think is really nice looking. I think it was a new UI over the clock. You click on that, it pops up. And then there was also a replacement for the Meet Now feature in Windows 10 is becoming a Teams feature. Of course it is, right? Mm-hmm. Which we kind of speculated on, I have to say. I think we think we had arrived at that at some point.
And there's the rounded corners, ladies and gentlemen. Even the logo is rounded corners.
Yeah, I hope you like rounded edges, because straight corners are going away, just like in my house. Yeah. I don't think there was a straight corner in my entire building.
Lots of pretty features. But I think we should start off with something that we have now learned since, which is availability, cost, and maybe more importantly, hardware requirements. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I can address availability. We think, I haven't seen this date show up anywhere, but we think Windows Insiders are going to get this on June 28th. They definitely are going to get it next week.
Okay.
Sure.
So by the way, the official stance is in the coming weeks.
Right. But that's a lie.
That's the language.
Okay. That's soon. Wow. So that means it's done, right? That means it's mostly done.
Listen, the emperor called, and I'm not sure they like your language there.
Sorry, lie is a strong word.
Pravda would like you to reword that.
It's done. Like, this first iteration of it is done enough to give it to insiders to start playing around with, and to give it to OEMs to start playing around with. Yeah, it's done.
Well, I mean, based on the leak, of course it is. It's the leak that we got last week is perfectly as
Pretty
good as any
complete.
Windows Insider build.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Well, we're missing, we're missing some, the new store app is missing, obviously. And I think we're excited to see that.
Yep. So, what I've heard about availability is it's going to be preloaded on new PCs this holiday. And if you want to put it on an existing PC that meets the requirements, you're going to be able to be a seeker and keep looking for it and see if it's ready for you. But the date they're giving for when it will be available to existing Windows 10 users who comply with the specifications is starting in early 2022.
Oh,
So if you want to run it on a device you have, it's next year.
next
By the
year.
way,
Wow.
Thank God. By the way, just as the author of the forthcoming Windows 11 field guide, I got to say, really happy to hear that. Really happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Also, we should, since you mentioned Windows 10, we got to say there is going to be a Windows 10 21H2 that is coming out the second half of this year.
Can I just say?
I think it was someone. It was a guy. I know it was a man. No, I don't.
I kept saying on every Windows Weekly, I'm like, they're gonna do a 21H2. They have to, right? And yes.
While they're not saying, I would guess that's the last update to the last big update to Windows 10 or no?
Here's what we were just told that they won't say. so what they say. So, but obviously, existing versions of Windows 10, including the long-term version that's coming out this fall, will be supported for quite some time into the future. The question is whether there's a 22H1 or whatever. Right. I will say, I think a lot of people, when they hear Sun Valley and then they hear, oh, it's going to be Windows 11, interesting. You think it's going to just slot in and replace Windows 10. But somebody, again, I can't remember, it was a man, I just remember that part, said, that there would be, was Mary Jo, that there were future versions of Windows 10 coming, or at least one, certainly 21H2. So
that has
been
been
surprised.
Confirmed.
Yes.
No, and so Microsoft has said for years now that Windows 10 will be supported until October 2025. That makes me think there has to be more versions of Windows 10 coming. Right.
Or, I mean, obviously, even if there aren't monthly cumulative updates, and because they are cumulative, you don't have to do that weird stuff. Remember back in, Windows 7 timeframe, they would do these roll-ups because they didn't have cumulative updates, right? That was the one way to handle it. Because, you don't want someone or some business to 2 years from now do a clean install of Windows 10, whatever the last version is, and then have to install 2 years of updates, right? But because they're cumulative, it's actually not as painful, right, as it used to be. So we'll see. If we do get future Windows 10 versions, I suspect they will be small and easy ones like we've seen recently. And by the way, doesn't the appearance of Windows 11 put a new light on that fact, right? That we've just had a couple of years of only minor updates and then a really minor update with 21H1. And it's almost like they were saying, okay, look, we're winding this thing down. Let's stop inflicting the pain. And by the way, I just made a joke about this before the show started, but Windows as a service, not dead, but they finally arrived at something I think is a little more saner, I guess, which is previously or I should say with Windows 10, the schedule has been 2 feature updates a year, which is insane, which is crazy, right? Once every 6 months. And then, cumulative updates every month. And then realistically, 3 times a month, right? I think that's the real schedule. It's kind of brutal.
Oh, so you mean for like the preview of the security updates, like the C week, the D week, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Right. I mean, technically there's 1 guaranteed, but realistically it's 2 for most and 3 for many. Windows 11, though, will be updated annually, just like a real operating system in the 2020s. 24 months of support.
Not twice a year, once a year.
Once
a year.
Big deal, right?
24 months of support for each version, Pro and Home. And then 36 months of support for enterprise and education.
Is that lower than it used to be?
No, more.
That's more.
It's much more. Yeah. Well, it's more. It's more.
It's more. Yeah.
So that's good. It's saner is what it is.
It is. No, in my Twitter feed, this is the biggest announcement of the day. one feature update for Windows 11. This is the one that, like, I have 200 and something likes on it. Yeah. Like, people are like, I don't even care what they showed with the rounded corner thing. Like one update a year.
Well, hold on. That's crazy. That's
what they're saying. That's what they're saying. They're like, this would make me move to Windows 11. This one thing would make me go.
Well, there you go. And by the way, that's interesting because during when we were talking over those people, and one of the things that kind of came out is like, look, this is very clearly aimed at consumers. There was a push for developers there at the end as well. It was hybrid work and hybrid learning talk, but that really is focused on consumers ultimately, right? Yeah. Because you're going to be using Windows at home. So there you go. There's your push for enterprises and businesses, right? Once a year. Perfect.
So good.
Well, it's what we've been asking
Panos' one more thing. That could have been his one more thing.
Yeah, don't you get the feeling he walked in the room and said, "Hey, we've been doing this 2-year thing. How do people like that?" And they were like,
"Yeah,
well,
not that much."
So there is one. Let's talk about compatibility. It looked like when I looked at the list, just any modern PC would be fine, but there is a little catch that wasn't on the list. Mm-hmm. The requirement for TPM 2.0.
2. Yep.
Yeah, but was that not on the list for Windows 10? I feel like that was on the list.
No.
It wasn't? Oh,
not.
Okay.
So, but okay, I have a question for you guys because you understand this more than I do. I'm seeing people saying some people are freaking out about that, especially gamers, and saying, so that's a deal breaker for gamers. But I'm seeing other people say, if you can go into your BIOS settings, you can turn it on. Is that true?
Well, you can go into your BIOS settings and disable TPM.
If you have TPM2, you can turn it on and off.
Yeah,
no, but
it's a hardware module that you'll have to have.
It is, right? Okay.
And I think that this is really pretty much saying you need a new PC or pretty new PC, right?
Yeah, I think most.
When did TPM2s come out?
We should look that up, but I mean, I feel like most. I think PCs just.
And it also, Mary Jo had this as well. 2017, it looks like it came out.
Yeah, 4 years
so
ago.
any fairly modern computer should have that, but it also means that Microsoft can enforce the Microsoft account thing, right? You have to have. There's no local login for the home version anymore.
For the home version, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
right.
Pro supports offline accounts, as they call them, as local accounts, as we used to call them. Mm-hmm. But Home does not. That's right. But by the way, also, but that means you have to be online. And this should remind people of a little episode back from I'm going to say 2013, where Xbox One at the time, before it came out, was going to require an internet connection to work. Yeah. And so. I don't remember the guy's name.
Mr. Submarine, right?
Yeah. They said, well, what if a lot of military guys like to play Xbox? What if I'm on a submarine? He says, well, you might want to stick with the Xbox 360. And that was the last time he appeared in public, and he left the company. I'm not kidding. I don't remember his name, but
he was being honest.
Yeah.
Well, he was, but that was a stupid policy.
Right.
I know. But Microsoft was asked about this in one of the briefings I had. Somebody even used the word, I think it may have been Brad Sams, who said, what about the submarine case? Right.
Yep. By the way, have you seen a comedian not land a joke? That was what
it was just quiet. I'm like, but what they said was, and what people were really asking is, what if you're in a country where internet connectivity is spotty or non-existent in some cases? And Microsoft said, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to connect that one first time to set this up. You're going to have to find a way. That's all they say.
See, this is the tone deaf moment, unfortunately. And it's not. Maybe it won't be a huge deal. I guess we'll see how it goes.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask you if you think it'll be a huge deal or
I do, because if you go to a Walmart and drive 3 hours out to your home in the middle of nowhere, and you go to turn on your computer because you want to play games or whatever it is, and you can't get online, or it's really expensive and slow. Yeah, I mean that's going to be, people aren't going to like that.
Okay.
But then they said once you do your initial setup, if you want to run it offline, you can. But that doesn't make sense to me, because the reason they're requiring this, I'm assuming, is they're going to try to default to everything being saved in OneDrive and try to make it, as they said on the keynote, cloud powered, right? So what does it look like if you aren't connected after you set up with the Microsoft account, right? I don't know.
Well, we've all used our PCs in airplane mode or whatever.
Yeah. Or with a
you know,
phone,
OneDrive sync pauses. Yeah, it's not great. Yeah, right, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
So that's a little.
It's new. And yeah, as far as the rest of the hardware specs that are new, so they said dual core 64-bit processor, which, like you said, pretty much every modern PC has at least that, right? 64 gig.
Sorry to interrupt real quick, but the only issue there is going to be for upgraders. So there are people who might have older computers that have been able to successfully keep going with Windows 10. And this is where you're going to, but are running 32-bit versions of Windows 10. So they're not going to be able to upgrade to Windows 11. No. But you know, then again, maybe that's the logical dividing point, and that's okay, right?
Right.
And that was one of the weird squishy things about Windows 10, because remember they announced Windows as a service, and it will you'll be supported for the lifetime of the PC. What does that mean?
Yeah.
You know,
that's why it was so squishy. Remember, we kept trying to ask.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the lifetime of the PC. It doesn't make any sense. And then later, Intel and Microsoft had that big fight over the 7th gen chips, and Microsoft said, "Fine, we just won't support it in Windows 10 anymore." How do you like that? They were like, "Wait, hold on, what's going on here?"
Yeah.
So it's a weird issue.
I think though the thing that you just said that surprised me the most is you won't be able to get it until 2022 as an upgrade, unless you're an insider. So really, this confirms, I think, what you were saying.
No. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I there might be some misconception.
You can get the insider build soon.
I think the PCs, if this thing isn't coming out until 2022, I think the PCs you're going to buy this fall are going to be called Windows 11 ready PCs. Yeah. I don't think they're actually going to come with Windows 11.
Oh,
agree. Yep. Agree.
Okay, so you will not be able to. Oh, that's really interesting.
Windows 11. Yeah, I didn't hear the date. So Mary Jo had you said early 2022.
So there will be some new PCs available this holiday season that will come with Windows 11 on them.
Are you sure? Well, that's different.
I'm positive.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't ask me how I know, but I know.
Okay. So there will be so the only way to get a Windows 11 if you're not an insider will be to buy a new computer this year or wait
if you
till
really
next
have to
year.
have it this year, right? But who needs
Okay, so that's interesting.
Not Windows 11 ready, but actual Windows 11.
Well, I will say
different.
Those are two different things. So I will say if that's true, the one rationale I could make for it is actually gaming PCs, right? Because there are some significant gaming innovations occurring, and they require very special hardware, right? Specially designed SSDs, the right drivers, which we'll talk about that stuff a little bit later. But I could imagine them wanting to sell those computers for the holiday period, right?
Yeah.
But we might get into a weird situation where I don't know how they're going to do it, but people are testing Windows 11 over here on one side and they're shipping Windows 11 on the other. It's a little strange, but maybe.
I think it's a nod to OEMs, right? Like some PC makers are like, give us something awesome to sell this holiday. Let us say we get Windows 11 PCs, right? So some people will have them. And then people who buy, like say you're buying a PC right now, a lot of OEMs are going to try to make sure it meets the specifications for 11 because they know Microsoft's going to let you get Windows 11 right after that, right?
Yeah, and Microsoft has done this before. We've seen these stickers or logos. It's a Windows whatever version ready computer, meaning it meets doesn't meet the minimum specs, but it meets probably the recommended specs, right? The idea is like this is a good computer for Windows 11, and we're Windows 11 ready right now. It would have shipped with it. Yeah. That kind of thing. So you want to, you're giving people a sense that you're getting something a little future proof.
I am seeing people in our chat room complaining that apparently Microsoft has released a tool to check compatibility. Is that right?
I know. They have.
I haven't seen it. Okay.
And a number of
so
people
the Walking
are complaining
Cat
it's
tweeted
not working.
It. It's not working right. Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
I would wait because I'm seeing every single person who's using it saying, oh yeah, so it's not gonna be able to run on this or that. So I don't think it's ready. I don't think it's ready.
Interesting.
That's my guess. Yeah. But yeah, so that's what I've heard on the timetable for Windows 11 that on some new PCs this year, And
Right.
then if you
Yeah.
have Windows 10 device, Microsoft wants to test it against it to make sure you're going to have a good upgrade experience. So they'll start pushing upgrades to people on Windows 10 in early 2022. That's what I heard.
Microsoft has interesting language sometimes. So, we've goofed on the word learnings in the past, for example, as an obvious example. But they multiple times today they said you will take Windows 11 as you do a Windows 10 feature update. It's like, yeah, take it. You're gonna take it.
You will take it.
So
I
hold
wish
on.
there was a
Can
better
I
word.
clarify? Yeah, let me clarify what I just said, because Taro Elhonen found some good wording. Okay, so what they're saying is Windows 11 will be available through a free upgrade for eligible Windows 10 PCs and on new PCs beginning this holiday. So that leaves them wiggle room there, but I still am hearing on existing PCs next year. But that's their exact wording if you want to know how they're phrasing it.
Okay, so no, I mean it makes sense, and you do want to hit the holiday season. Obviously, I mean, Mike, you don't want to ship a new version of Windows in January.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta hit the holiday season. So that's good because that will help the PC industry at a time when PC sales might have settled down again, right?
But there is a precedent for this so-called Windows Ready thing.
Oh no, there are still going to be Windows 11 ready PCs as well. That's going to be another part of it.
They've done this before, and they don't come with the new version of Windows, but they will run the new version of Windows. And by the way,
that's another thing. So we had heard a rumor before this that Windows 11 would be just like Windows 10, and that it would be free for existing users, and that's mostly true. But it's Windows 10 users, and it's Windows 10 users that have PCs that meet those requirements that Mary Jo started mentioning, right?
Yeah.
So it's not everybody, but if your computer runs a recent version of Windows 10 today, you should be able to run Windows 11.
Yeah, that's what
and
they
you'll
say.
Get it for free.
Right? They are thinking if your PC runs Windows 10 and your peripherals work with Windows 10 and your apps work on Windows 10, it's pretty highly likely it'll work on 11. Right?
Yeah. Oh no. Right. And app compatibility. Basically identical. That makes sense. Microsoft again. The way they'll try to phrase this is it's Windows 11 is built on the foundation of Windows 10. And Windows 11 is Windows 10, right? I mean, obviously it has advances, but it's not like it's a new platform.
Right.
And also, if you are running, I don't know why you would be, but if you're still one of the holdouts running Windows 10 S mode, you will have to turn off S mode before you upgrade.
Interesting.
There is no S mode.
That's surprising. Yep.
Yeah.
A little surprising. But you know what? That might explain, I don't know this for a fact, but remember people were finding these things that were SKUs in the late build that said Windows 10 Cloud SE, and everybody was thinking, is this a new cloud SKU? What I think that is somehow removing Windows 10 S mode from your device. Because Windows 10 Cloud was the code name for Windows 10 S mode.
That's
right?
Yep.
Yeah. For some crazy, bizarro reason.
So are we to take this to mean that S mode is gone?
Yes. With Windows 11, it's gone.
Interesting.
You'll find it.
We hardly knew you.
You'll find it right here in this big blue box on the requirements. Wait a minute, feature deprecation. There's a lot of information in this requirements document.
Cortana will no longer be included in the first boot experience, so that means she won't yell at you.
No more yelling.
If she does that.
No more yelling.
I guess that wasn't too popular.
Yeah. You cannot roam your wallpaper anymore. Okay, that's fine. IE is disabled. Edge is recommended.
By the way, disabled is not the same as gone.
No?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Quick status. Oh, boy. This is all good stuff for the book right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is good information.
Just cut and paste.
Yep.
S mode is only available now for Windows 11 Home Edition.
Oh, there you go.
That's
I saw
different.
That in one place. I know. And
that's different than operating system requirements would say S mode is not supported on Windows 11.
I know. I'm seeing both things. I'm seeing it's only
There's
there
some
for home.
confusion.
Yeah.
Yep. What else we got here?
This is good. We're reading this is the document linked from Microsoft's Windows 11.
Live tiles are gone. We all know that. Tablet mode is removed.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, that's interesting. So you won't be able to say, I want to run in tablet mode unless you have a device with a detachable keyboard. And that puts it in tablet mode. that means only on Surface and
yeah, it's really just automatic, right? And well, not necessarily. I think when you think about a convertible PC, this feature is called what? Continuum, right? The idea is that you change the physical mode of the computer somehow. You either physically remove
so if
the keyboard,
I rotate the keyboard behind or something like that.
It should be be exactly the same. So things spread out a little. The touch targets get bigger.
Right.
You have on-screen gestures that match the gestures on the touchpad, which, by the way, I think is a neat idea.
I just want to say this is ungrammatical. People is no longer present on the taskbar.
Yeah, it's also
people, whatever
the object
the people
called
mode.
people.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, it's also just incorrect. That feature is called My People, not people. So,
let my people go. Okay.
Yeah.
Some icons may no longer appear in System Tray for upgraded devices, including previous customizations. I can't even parse that sentence.
Well, what it means is there are icons. If you go down to the left of the clock, there are icons. Like on my computer, I've got an icon for Teams,
and some of those will disappear
for Zoom, Skype.
This is interesting. Some people I know move the taskbar to the top or the side of the screen. And now you can only align it to the bottom.
Wow,
I'm
actually kind of surprised.
Shocker.
By that.
Yeah.
That seems. I bet Windows 11.1 will add that back. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That tells me that testing time for this isn't enough for them to make sure that works correctly. There's no reason not to allow that stuff to move around.
Okay.
I mean, some of these things that they're saying are gone. Aren't they just becoming store apps? Isn't that how they're disappearing, right? Or no?
Like what? I mean, I don't know what you mean. Like Cortana still be available in the stores
somehow.
No, Cortana, no, right? But what about? Is Paint just going to, Notepad, I hate to say
Paint and Notepad are
Yeah.
available in box, but yet we'll still be in the store.
Do you think they'll stay in box though, or do you think they'll go completely to the
So
store?
that story has changed so many times, it's hard to keep track, but they could change again for Windows 11, so I don't know. But my understanding is that as of last note, they're still in box, but will be updated through the store. Okay. So that means if you delete them, you can get them back through the store.
Yeah.
Or uninstall them.
Yeah. Yep.
So we, a million years ago, Mary Jo was in the middle of talking about the system requirements. And
Sorry. Yeah.
No, I interrupted you, but no, it's okay. But you said the processor, which is a 1.1
modern
gigahertz.
dual core 64-bit processor, 1 gigahertz clock speed.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much anything sold in the last 10 years.
So a Celeron would be fine.
Right. 64 gig drive and 4 gigs of RAM minimum.
So I don't know. Off the top of my head, I'm going to guess that Windows 10 was still 2 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of storage, both of which were impossibly low. And I don't know if I just wrote this or I said this earlier, but Windows 10 was kind of interesting because like Windows 8 and actually like Windows 7, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, positive. Both of those systems actually had lower system resources than their predecessors. Yeah. But now we're reaching the point, that can't continue, right? Hey, Windows 11, 1 gig of RAM and 16 gigs of storage. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like these are not realistic to me, but they're more realistic than they were in Windows 10. I can't believe that anyone would be okay with less than 8 gigs of RAM these days or 120 gigs of storage.
Yeah.
These are minimum. These are the
people
minimum.
are saying that this requirement for TPM 2.0 is a non-starter for some. Are there PCs still selling PCs without TPM?
Well, that's what I was asking earlier. I don't understand the complaint.
TPM is an Intel hardware feature that provides things like encryption, for the hard drive, and of course, there's a lot of security built into it.
By the way, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
TPM, by the way.
Oh, what did they say, Mary Jo?
No comment yet. I asked him, but
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Windows 10's, unless this can't be current. Windows 10's system requirement minimum was 1 gigabyte of RAM for a 32-bit system.
Wow.
2 for 64. 16 gigabytes of storage for a 32-bit OS?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Or 20. That's ridiculous.
That explains the HP envy.
And it also explains people not being able to do the updates. You remember that whole thing? Like they didn't have room to do
it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so there were features in Windows 10 that required TPM 1.2 or higher, including BitLocker, drive encryption. But yeah, it was not okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's,
what else?
crazy.
Mary Jo, I just want to. You look like you're sitting on the floor. Can you tilt your camera forward a little
really?
bit? It has
Sriracha.
subsided. Sriracha has taken your camera. I'll show her, and I'm going to make her smaller than me. There you go.
Being a mostly good boy.
Yeah, mostly good. Mostly good. That's his name.
Yeah, mostly good. Is that good enough?
Yeah, that's fine. I just
sorry about that.
Was a little size disparity between you and me.
I am taller.
Yes. Secure boot capable UEFI, greater than 9-inch screen, DirectX 12 compatible graphics. So nothing that I thought was too crazy. The only thing I'm seeing a lot of pushback on is TPM2 and people who hate the Microsoft account sign in on Windows 11.
I think the Microsoft account one is a bigger deal, although I'm willing to listen to anyone who could explain why the TPM thing is a problem. It just seems to me you buy a computer, it has TPM on it. You don't think about it. You don't even know it's there. You know, and just by raising that issue, like, do I TPM2? Do I have this on my computer?
I know.
I mean,
it made me wonder if I have it too. Yeah.
But of course you do. You do. Because
but
that's part of
you
secure
think,
boot.
do I have it?
Right.
It might really be about a semi-artificial way. I mean, Microsoft will talk about the security reasons for it, but the chip to the cloud thing they were talking about. But I think this is a semi-artificial way to draw a line in the sand for supported systems, right? That it will help force some people to upgrade computers, which is good for the PC industry. And it's good for Microsoft because there's a smaller range of hardware types to have to support as well. It's more modern PCs.
I want to take a little break, and then we can go through features. But I did want to set this up in the beginning with availability and requirements and cost. So there is a free upgrade for Windows 10 users. Almost everybody who runs Windows 10 should be able to upgrade for free, but it won't be till probably next year.
No, so I'm wrong. I'm going to clarify this again. The reason this is very confusing because Microsoft has worded this in different ways in multiple places. Okay, so Windows 11 will be available on some new PCs starting this holiday, and it will be available to some Windows 10 users who are seekers also starting this holiday. Microsoft says it'll extend to more Windows 10 users going into early 2022 because they're going to do a staged rollout.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
If you're somebody who really wants it and you're on Windows 10, you're probably going to be able to seek it this holiday season and get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, if you're someone who wants it that bad and you're listening to us, you're going to be an insider.
Yeah.
I know. Right. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, that's the clarification.
Good.
The best I can tell here.
Yeah, that's kind of relief.
Okay.
There were some big surprises, though, and I want to talk about anything that might have shocked you earlier today. Panos Panay looked a little tired. Did he? I think I think he takes on an affectation where it's like I'm just so I'm so bound up in it. Like I'm trying to make my voice quiver a little bit when I talk because I love it so much. Okay,
that's what it feels like, right? I mean,
yeah. Okay, I'll take your word for it. More with Paul and Mary Jo, a special edition of Windows Weekly for those of you who were saying, where was it Wednesday? Well, now you know it's here Thursday because we wanted to do it after the Windows 11 announcement. Our show today brought to you by Worldwide Technology and NetApp. WWT, love these guys. Went out to see them last year. They are really at the forefront of innovation, working with clients everywhere in the world to transform their businesses. Technology is a big part of business these days. And at the heart of WWT, their Advanced Technology Center, their ATC. That's what we went out to see, and I was blown away. It's a research and testing lab like no other. Brings together technologies from all sorts of OEMs, more than $500 million of equipment invested in the lab. The lab is open to all. You can use it, too, for your own programmatic testing. Of course, the engineers at Worldwide Technology use it for learn about technologies, to spin up proofs of concept, test ideas. The ATC is really remarkable. and offers hundreds of on-demand and schedulable labs, things like NetApp's Cloud Manager, along with other labs representing the newest advances in everything you'd want to know about if you were investing in enterprise technology, multi-cloud architecture, of course, security, networking, primary and secondary storage, data analytics, and AI, the DevOps. You know, when I mentioned DevOps, I really want to emphasize WWT stays on the cutting edge of enterprise technology. They know about Agile, they know about DevOps, they're experts in. They have app developers that can help you get your app off the ground. They have security experts who can help you lock your company down. And of course, they have the ATC, which is really an amazing place to test products, to try the solutions before they go to market, before you go to market with it. You can access more than just the hands-on labs. That's really fantastic, but there's also technical articles, expert insights, demonstration videos, white papers, all the tools you need to stay up to date with the latest technology, and it's available to you. Now, you could go to St. Louis. In fact, if you get a chance, do. I was blown away. It was so cool to talk to the engineers, see what they're doing in those labs. But Worldwide Technology has also virtualized it. So if you're a member of their ATC platform, you can access these amazing resources anywhere in the world, 365 days a year. And while you're there, make sure to check out WWT's events and communities for even more opportunities to learn about technology trends, hear the latest research and insights from their experts. We did a great panel there when we were there. They have a fantastic auditorium and do all sorts of interesting events. Look, I guess the bottom line is whatever technology your business needs, you need to talk to WWT. They can deliver scalable, tried and tested, fully tailored solutions like no one else. WWT brings strategy and execution together to make a new world happen. That's important. I want to emphasize the strategy part. They work with you to meet your business goals. They're not just saying, here's some technology. They're really taking the time. Their consultants take the time to understand what your needs are, what your goals are, what your strategy is, what your vision is, and then they help with the execution. They set it up so that you win. To learn more about WWT, the ATC, to gain access to all those free resources I mentioned, it's very simple. Just go to wwt.com/twit. You can create a free account on their ATC platform, www.com/twit. Big fans of WWT, and we thank them so much for supporting everything we do here at Twit. Back to Paul and Mary Jo. What were there surprises? I'm going to tell you my surprise.
Yeah. What was it?
App Store, Android apps.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that?
That was the one more thing. Yeah,
they have spent the past year talking about WSL and how this was the way they were going to do Android apps and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, we just partnered with Intel and Amazon. So
it's the Amazon. It's the Amazon store, not the Google Play Store, which I think is interesting. Same things.
Yeah.
There's very little that's
except
not
minus Google Play services.
Minus Google services. Yeah.
Right.
But still, one of the big concerns we had, because we talked about this so many times, what if Microsoft did it themselves, right? I mean, what a disaster that would be.
I know.
Being able
they
to
tried it, right? They had an Android bridge.
Yeah.
No, I mean, curating Android apps and putting them in the store.
Yeah.
I know.
No, this is smart.
This is smart. Somebody already has a store. They've done the stupid work.
Yeah.
And it's not Google.
It's not Google, but,
Right.
that has pluses and minuses.
Necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Amazon makes Android tablets under the Fire brand, and so in order to get Android apps on your Fire tablet, we're
going to be selling Fire PCs now.
It's on Fuego.
Fire tablets.
And
Microsoft.
Tell me about this Intel bridge, because I'm not paying attention, but I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah, I never had heard of it. Okay, Intel put out a press release about this today. They're collaborating with Microsoft on this thing called the Intel Bridge technology. It is, how do they describe it? Let's see. A runtime post-compiler that enables apps to run natively on x86-based devices.
Wait a minute. Hold on there. So that's not an emulator exactly. It's a compiler.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't give us a whole lot more info. It just says we've been working with Microsoft on this.
I guess that's what the Microsoft bridge was to do. So, but does it mean if I'm an Android developer, I have to recompile my app?
We don't know.
What does this mean for ARM? Right? What about ARM
there's-
devices?
So this is a strike against ARM for sure, right? Like this is Intel going to Microsoft and saying, give us something to make it so that people are going to want to continue to want Intel devices with Windows 11. Okay, let's do this bridge. Then we can have Android apps on Intel-based PCs, right?
I'm so confused.
I know.
We need more.
Don't know
Obviously,
yet.
there's a
They
lot of
haven't told us
details
more.
missing.
Right. Intel and Microsoft haven't shared a lot on that yet. But, at 3 o'clock today, Eastern time, there's a developer briefing that's open to everyone on YouTube from Microsoft. So maybe they'll tell us more during that. Maybe.
Yeah. Does this mean you literally have to have an Intel CPU in the computer to even use this feature?
It looks like yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
No AMD
like
and no
Well,
ARM.
that's a big deal right there.
Well, I don't know about AMD, but definitely it does not. I think it's definitely not ARM, right?
Huh.
All right,
Interesting.
we need to look into this because that's interesting.
The other thing they said, I don't know if this is new or if it's just is underscoring something that already exists, but it's definitely a shot at Apple, which is getting a lot of heat for its 30% VIG in its App Store. They said you can bring your own commerce engine to the App Store, and we will take 0%.
We'll take 0. Well, they finally gave up on this dream, that they can be Apple. And by the way, I think helping it is a lot of the regulatory attention.
Yeah.
Microsoft's like, I don't know if we want any of that.
Yep.
It also, it honestly puts some pressure on Apple. Now it explains Frank Shaw's op-ed piece in which he really excoriated Apple's App Store policies. Sure. There puts much more pressure on Apple. Now legislators and regulators can say, well, look at Microsoft. They don't charge.
And by the way, exactly 1 week ago, Amazon announced that it was lowering its revenue cut through the Amazon App Store from 30% to 20%. For developers who earn up to $1 million the prior calendar year. So kind of aping Apple's policy, which, by the way,
Apple went down to 15%, I might point out, by the way.
It did, except, but here's the important distinction. Amazon's just doing it, right?
Yeah.
Amazon, this is the new policy. We're not, in Apple's case, you have to sign up. You have to be approved. You have to wait. It doesn't just happen automatically. It starts like the following year or whatever it is. I mean, Apple, I think obviously Apple knows the pressure that's happening, and they see what's happening, and you get the feeling they did this so they had something to point to and say, well, we're doing the right thing over here. Look, it's not that bad. Yep. But Amazon, like a lot of the smaller stores you're starting to see, it just said, look, we're just going to go down, and we'll see. Google, I think Google did 15% as well, right, on the first. If I'm not mistaken,
yes,
first 15.
If you're under $1 million,
yeah, I think so.
And of course, the bulk of money is made by companies like Amazon and Netflix that, of course, have more than $1 million in revenue yearly.
Right.
So
it's a nice little
Microsoft's
tax the rich policy we should start thinking about more generally. By the way, but
but Microsoft's saying 0, right? We're not going to take a cut. You can bring your own app store.
It's not 0 for everybody, right?
If you use Microsoft's
it's 0
commerce,
if you bring your own third-party commerce platform.
Right.
If you use Microsoft's platform, the split's still 85-15, unless you're a PC game developer, and then the split is going to be 88-12 starting August 1st. So there's a few little nuances in that, but mostly it's like, Microsoft's saying, look, we really want apps in our store, and we'll let you take the money.
One of the things that Apple does not want is Steam or Epic to put a game store on iOS.
Sure.
And that's where the battle is going on between Apple and Epic in court.
Well, because that's where all the money's made.
Right.
Right. I mean,
but Microsoft is, I think, saying, Epic, come on, you can be in our app store and use your own commerce platform.
Yeah, Epic charges their own fees, so they'll get all the money now. That makes sense for everybody. Although I think we all know Epic well enough to know they're not coming into Microsoft store, but whatever, they could.
Steam might.
Steam
why
might.
not?
No, others, of course, and others they should really. But on Apple's side, when you look at something like Xbox Cloud Gaming and the Xbox app on iOS, they're like, you can't do that. And it's almost like you want to think Apple almost doesn't understand how this model works. We're not selling people. There's not a store. There's just a selection of game. They're paying a subscription fee. And they don't even want to allow that without that. It's almost they wanted the right to approve every single game that went through the Xbox game cloud gaming service. Microsoft already does that. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
So, the App Store looks nice. It's pretty. But the complaints people have about Microsoft's App Store is more the quality of the apps.
Quality.
A lot of reasons, yeah.
And did they address that at all? Or they
did, yeah. So there aren't major changes to the existing app types that will be in the store beyond the thing we just discussed, right? So obviously there are Win32 desktop apps, there are .NET apps, there are UWP, which are really mobile apps. There are hybrid apps that are kind of web, semi-native PWA type apps, that kind of thing. So that's all, obviously that's all continuing forward. And I looked through their, Mary Jo mentioned there's a developer live thing and maybe there'll be some clarification, but looking through their blog posts, honestly, for existing app types, I didn't see a lot of improvements or changes or however you want to word it for existing types of apps. Project Reunion was always a code name, and that's going to become the Windows App SDK, not to confuse it with the Windows SDK, which is the old Win32 style SDK. And okay, cool. There's a name, and I don't. I think there are some things they didn't really say. There was this notion of this new widget panel thing that would be open, which I take to mean third parties can create widgets that run in this thing and that you as a user might be able to install in there. And they never discussed that explicitly.
Right. No.
So I guess we'll see if that happens or not. But yeah, I mean, by and large, I'm sorry. To answer the question, I'm sorry. The big partner that they mentioned was Adobe. And I think what this is going to do is get some of the big players who hadn't gone into the store before because they're the ones charging for this service and they don't want to have whatever the percentage go to Microsoft. Well, Adobe has their own commerce engine, or they use whatever commerce engine they use, so they're not going to pay Microsoft anything. And now they will be in the store, and that benefits everyone. It's more exposure for customers who are using Windows 11 to those apps and servers. They're really subscription services, and that's good for Adobe. It's good for those users. It's good for Microsoft because now people are sticking with Windows now. They're using Windows, and that really, I feel like they kind of lost track of this with Windows 10, and it didn't. It really started Windows 8, but this kind of mobile envy thing that led to an app store, that led to advertising everywhere, that led to bundling crapware, that led to telemetry that you can't turn off because the only way we can, know what you're doing is if we're tracking you, and that helps us keep the system more secure, sure, but it's also something a lot of people don't like. I'm not saying all that's going away, but I do see a step back from the cliff with Windows 11, which I think is positive.
What they didn't really say, or maybe I missed it, is, okay, we're letting you put Win32 apps in the store, or we're letting you bring all these other kinds of app types to the store. But they never really said, and they just said, and don't worry, it'll be good. Like, you won't be at risk for these being in the store, right? Did they even say, like, how are we vetting this? Like, what's the certification process? They just said, we're going to have a lot of eyes on this, and you're not going to be at a risk if you download from our store. But I want more than that. Like, I want to know what are they doing, right?
Well, I don't know.
They said that, right?
I feel like you're either going to be completely locked down or you're not. And there's really kind of no middle ground. And that what the Microsoft Store is going to kind of evolve into, in some ways, is a hybrid situation where obviously if you're creating a UWP app, it's a native mobile app that is very much locked down. Those things are going to be very secure. But and the updating process is going to happen through the store. You as a user is not going to necessarily understand that that's it's not like you think they could put like a green circle on it or a yellow circle, red, whatever. But if you're a web app, like a PWA, that thing's updating over the internet. Outside of the store, has nothing to do with the store. There's nothing Microsoft can do to stop that. And that, not that most developers would ever do this, but there's nothing stopping malicious or poorly written code from happening. And the store's not going to help with that. There's nothing the store can do about that.
Yeah.
But that's that's the reality. And I think, look, we live in a world where people say, I don't care about privacy because I like Google Maps, and I don't care if people are tracking me because I like Google Search, and okay, but I mean, it's just Windows is part of that side of the planet for sure. It's not the Apple side.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And we were going back to the idea of things that surprised us. So yeah, Android apps in the store already surprised me. Like I thought maybe they would do that sometime, but I didn't know when.
Yeah, no, right away. Yeah, me too. Very surprising.
But here's something else I was surprised about. I thought Teams would be way more integrated into Windows 11 than it is, and it's not. It's the only place. Nope. The only place it's integrated is Teams chat button on the taskbar.
Yeah.
Teams, the app, is
how
not
else would
integrated in Windows 11.
I'm sorry, what is it?
Teams, like I thought they were going to actually ship it with Teams pre-installed, but they're not.
Oh.
They're not doing that.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
Isn't that weird?
it is weird, but obviously Skype is part of Windows 10, right? And so there's a Meet Now thing that actually uses Skype, but whatever. So now there's going to be this thing that's sort of like Meet Now, but it uses Meet Teams. And I think there was a link on the bottom that said install the app or something like that, or launch the app. I don't remember the exact language, but and obviously if you don't have it, it will install it at that point. But I think it's meant to be a gateway drug for Teams, that you can use this thing because, like Meet Now, you don't the other person doesn't have to have Skype for that to work. And at a kind of theoretical level, that sounds useful. I suspect what will happen is, honestly, most people probably won't even use it. But, I don't begrudge its inclusion.
I guess because, we were talking about, like, we were even joking about Windows 11 being called Team OS. And in the end, I'm like, oh, wait, so Teams isn't really all that integrated in it.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
That kind of surprised me.
Yeah, the big surprise to me was that there was no other information beyond the store about app updates. Like not even one. There was no mention. There was not even a quick flyby of something. In fact, the biggest app update outside of the store was the news that the Microsoft Office updates, which by the way do often come on a PC, right? Even with the theory being if you have Microsoft 365, you just sign in and use them.
Yeah.
Those things will automatically adapt to the theme you're using in Windows 11, which is cool, right? So you have whatever theme, it will take on the color, the colors and the darkness or whatever. Cool. But again, what about mail? What about calendar? I mean, these are really big. Yeah. What about, even, I know you don't want anyone to touch Notepad or, or Paint or these kind of legacy apps, but I mean, aren't they ripe for modernization? I mean, nothing, what about File? I mean, File Explorer has been something in the course of Windows 10, 6 years, we've been complaining about the entire time. Are you ever going to do multi-threaded file copy and, like any
that would be
UI.
Nice. Or even verification on copy.
Oh God, have you ever copied files in Windows? It's like going back to the 70s.
We got to give them something for Windows 12, right?
So really what it means is this is pretty much a cosmetic change to Windows, but the underlying Windows, and they even said this, your existing hardware and devices and software should all continue to work. It's not changed substantially.
And by the way, I know, and it's something like that. You're right. I mean, fundamentally, but people hear that and they're either going to go in one of two directions. They're going to think this is a piece of junk because, oh my God, they make all these changes, or they're going to say, right, of course, like leave it alone. It's fine. The thing that needs to change is maybe the interaction part, the part you see and the part you kind of interface with. And I kind of see both sides of it. I don't think they need to. It's not like they have to swap out the foundation, but I think there needs to be some more foundational changes in addition to the front end stuff.
And I'm sure that they would say, well, we're always doing that. Like we're always kind of working on and cleaning up and improving as best we can. And, that's an ongoing process. That's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah. But when you say something, but when you say details matter, for example, as Panos Panay did
say that, yes.
He's right. You can't then say, well, we're just going to touch 70% of it. It's like, dude, if details matter, then you fix the whole thing,
Right.
So I guess we just have to be realistic. There are UI. We talked about these legacy UIs, control panel, the MMC stuff that people get so frustrated over for some reason. My answer to those people, although I see their point, I feel it too, but normal people, my wife, Mary Jo's mother, whoever, just normal people, will never even see those UI. So who cares? I mean, what do you know? You want to touch the stuff people will see. This is not, we sort of forget about this, but Microsoft came out with, I believe it was called Windows Mobile 6.5. It was the one that had that honeycomb UI in the front. There were some real on the the home screen. There were some real innovations in that system. One of the really neat things about it is if your phone was locked and you had notifications from different apps, you could swipe on the notification for, say, the Mail app, do your PIN thing, and it would launch the Mail app. It would just go to that app. It's something. I mean, this is right around the time the iPhone came out. It's like 15 years ago, whatever, a long time ago. You don't really see that has never continued forward anywhere else. I don't know why. But the problem with that system was it literally was that just top surface level. And once you got past the honeycomb home screen, you hit UIs that dated back another 10 years and required a stylus to hit because the hit points were so small. And this is better than that, I think is what I would say. It's not as good as maybe macOS Big Sur in the sense that it doesn't touch every single UI in the system. But that's because Apple had been updating every UI in the system all along and had aggressively jettisoned legacy UIs over time. It's not like they just did it all of a sudden in this one release. Like they had been doing that all along. So I don't know how you can conceptualize that, but one end of the spectrum, Windows Mobile 6.5, one end of the spectrum, macOS Big Sur, and Windows 11 is maybe somewhere in the middle. Yeah. If that makes that's a sentence that will make sense to three people. But
no, that makes sense. And they're also, I think there are things like the copy routine that need to be worked on, but that you wouldn't necessarily try to get that all rolled up into a big release. That might be an ongoing.
That's something that should just happen. They should be doing 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yep. Should have just happened.
So, what do you think of the new look? I think it's pretty. I like it.
It's nice.
I love
it.
Good. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't look. I don't mean this is going to sound overly romanticized, and I actually scaled it back when I wrote about it. But on the road last week, I would open my laptop. This lock screen was Windows 10. It hadn't changed yet, and you kind of sign in, and the desktop appears, and you get this little. Oh, it's pretty. Like it just looks really nice, and it, beauty is subjective. I get that. I know there are people look at this thing like, oof, But as we discussed previous, I think we must have talked about this last. Oh, maybe we didn't. I don't remember. Yeah, no, we did. We did talk about this last week. There are controls in the system, and then there are some hidden things in the system that let you bring it back at least to Windows 10. Right? If you don't like the centered stuff, you can slap it over on the left. If you don't like the rounded windows, there's a registry key that will turn all that stuff off, and probably thus there will be a UI or Stardock, God bless them, will release their own UI for that. It bugs me because unfortunately in the enthusiast world, people are really hardline and they're knee jerk, and I am too. I mean, we all are, but some people see this and they say, nope, I'm never upgrading to this. I'm not doing it. They're going to drive me to Linux or, to the Mac or whatever it is. It's like, guys, come on. Step back from the cliff. Give it a second.
People do freak, though. It's so funny to watch.
The sun's going to come out tomorrow. It's okay.
I know. No, I'm the kind of person, you guys know me. I'm typically the one who would be like, nope, can't do that. Nope.
Yep, not going to do it.
But I see this and I'm like, okay, all my files are right where I left them. In fact,
well, Notepad may not be, but
no, you know what? Like your most recently opened documents are going to be right there on your start screen. That's awesome for me because I'm forgetting where I put
by the way,
stuff.
We should talk about that. I got to be honest. Right. Actually, I'm not sure that's true. I have a little bit of a problem.
It has to be true.
Well, so here's the thing. So when you open up the start menu, there's a pinned section. They're just icons. There's no more tiles. You can configure it, of course. It's not. Now, this might be a beta thing, but there are 3 rows of icons. You would think if you only had 2 rows of icons pinned, that the recommended section would kind of get bigger to accommodate the extra space, but it doesn't. It just leaves an empty line. It's like, so if you only wanted like 1 row of icons or no icons, and all you wanted was recommended, right now at least, there's no way to do that. So hopefully that changes. But the other thing is, we've talked a lot about like the Office app and Office.com and this notion of recent documents and how you surface that for people and how useful that is. And it is. Recommended by default is a weird combination of apps and documents, right? So it is recent documents. And on this computer I'm looking at right now, it literally is the documents and also the graphic files that I used recently. So that's cool. But on the laptop, when I first started using it, one of the things I noticed was it's literally recommended. Like recommended doesn't mean recent, right? So it could be, unfortunately, I hate to say this, recommended will almost certainly be a place where you will see advertising.
Ads. Yeah, I noticed the recommended wording, and I thought, I don't like recommended.
That's not
recent. I like.
Good.
Yeah, it's not the same
recommend.
word.
It sounds like there's a recommendation engine involved.
So that could be
like apps we recommend you try.
Exactly.
Right?
But by the way, it is. But it already does do that. That's already one of the things it recommends. But you can imagine it saying, "Hey, we're dumb, so we don't know that you already have Microsoft 365. You should buy Microsoft 365."
Well, they do that already.
That's what I mean. But now it will be there, right? It will be a little more front and center. So we'll have to see how that evolves. But it is mostly what you're looking for, Mary Jo. It is like, and in my case today, it's literally that. But it's only six. It's six documents.
No, but you know what? If it's like Office.com or the Android launcher, that's what I want. I just want my most recent ones that I'm highly likely to be looking for.
Right.
I don't need it to be like the ones from the past year. I don't need that many of them. Right. I can search for them.
Oh no, of course. But okay. So I happen to work with graphics and text, right? So I have like an article, and then I have the graphic.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. So there are 6 slots, right? So there's really 2 articles in there and 4 graphics. And the reason is I have one header graphic or hero graphic or whatever you want to call it for every article. But there was an original I downloaded from the web, and then I edited it and cropped it and resized it and resaved it. And that became a second version of it.
Right. Yeah.
So what's there are 4 graphics and 2 articles, and it's like I kind of like it to be. In my case, I would like just to see the articles there. I wonder if there's going to be some way to configure it. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have more about Windows 11. This podcast is supported by AT&T Active Armor. We rely so much on our phones these days, and we're always on them. Whether it's live streaming content, catching up with family on weekly video calls, watching your favorite podcast, there's just no room for fraud calls. Thankfully, AT&T makes customer security a priority, helping block those pesky calls. It's blessed silence on my AT&T phone now. It's not complicated. AT&T Active Armor, 24/7. Proactive network security and fraud call blocking to help stop threats at no extra charge. Compatible device and service required. Visit att.com/Active Armor for details.
I have an interesting one from somebody who's chiming in here on Twitter.
Yeah.
One of the hardware requirements for Windows 11 is 9-inch or greater screen. So the person, Derek, asked me, why do you think Microsoft drew the line at 9 inches? And my guess is any Surface device they build smaller than 9 inches will run Android, and anything bigger will run Windows. But what do you guys think? Like, why do you think they drew that line?
That's it. In the past,
or is it because of free use of
apps?
That's
okay. I was just going to get that. Yeah. Okay, so the smaller device, when Windows 8 came out, and actually it might have been 8.1. There was a brief 1-year period where 8-inch tablets were the biggest thing in the world, in Windows. Yeah. And they were portrait mode, like the Dell. I can't even remember the name of it. Became the V something Pro, something Pro. And Windows 8 had, a lot of people still believe Windows 8 had better touch controls than Windows 10. And it was designed for that kind of thing. Now, of course, the apps never appeared, and obviously iPads existed, and so their moment in the sun was kind of brief. But yeah, what is the screen differentiation for free versus paid on Microsoft 365? Yeah. Is it more than 9?
What is it now? It keeps changing, right?
I believe it's changed, but
is it 9? I think it still might be 9.
It might even bigger than 9. I'm not really sure, but
it used to be
9,
10, right?
9 is, I would say 11 is a tiny screen for a PC, and I know Microsoft doesn't like the term PC; they call them devices, but
yeah.
9 sounds like a portable device, almost like a tablet, or
it does.
It has to be sub 9. So
I would hope that people, PC makers, don't try to ship tablet only PC devices running Windows 11. I just don't see a market for that. But the type where you can clip off the keyboard and 10.1.
Sorry,
okay.
10.1. Sorry, guys.
Well, but could you? I can't. I don't think the desktop versions of Office can. I don't think they have this differentiation. I could be wrong, but I think back in the day they made those portable, the mobile versions. Remember?
Yeah.
I think that's what those were originally for. They were for those stupid little tablet things. And I think if you have a full desktop version of Office, if it comes pre-installed in your PC, it's going to ask you to sign into your Microsoft account. If you sign in with a normal Microsoft account that doesn't have a paid Microsoft 365 subscriptions, you're not going to get the whole thing for free. They're going to say no. So maybe the distinction on a Windows PC is not as important.
Could be.
I don't know.
I know.
What else we got here? Did anything else happen? Oh, we should talk about games.
I'm getting TPM freak out in my
major TPM freak out. I'm really surprised.
So my big freak out
lot
is
of
that
it is people.
tool.
No, a lot of it's people who have built their own PCs, like do-it-yourself types.
But
or
don't motherboards
rig
pretty much have TPM on them?
That's what
thought
I think.
They did, but I might be wrong.
Think they do. I would think they do.
Yeah.
I bet these guys turn that stuff off. I'm sure they perceive there's a performance benefit for doing it. They want to overclock the chip.
Or for privacy reasons, or if you're running Linux. And I have this Linux PC in front of me is in fact does not have TPM on it because all the Intel management stuff's been disabled. But that's that's pretty unusual.
And what is a System 76 computer? Yeah, and
they have their own BIOS. And they disabled. A lot of people were worried about the Intel management engine because that's had a lot of security issues, and disable that and TPM at the same time. But TPM is not vPro. It's
right.
I think it's
no, it's not.
It's pretty standard. But again,
it has nothing to do with vPro.
No. I understand they don't want vPro on there, but
I think it's actually harder to find vPro than it is TPM.
Yeah, you have to buy vPro. Yeah. And I don't think you have to have TPM in hardware, do you, or do you? Can it be in BIOS?
I am guessing it can be because people are talking about turning it on in BIOS.
Well, it's disableable, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't actually know. I'm not sure if it's
used to have a module.
It was always separate, in the beginning. Yeah. This is the Longhorn feature. This was the, after they did product activation in Windows XP, they were like, well, how can we make people even more upset? I have an idea. Let's create a security chip, right on the motherboard in collaboration with Intel that will shut out Linux. It'll be great.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a processor. It's a secure processor, so it does require some hardware. So I suppose it's possible that you might have a socket for it, but it wasn't installed. That's possible. I don't think it's unreasonable for Microsoft to require it.
This is a Windows launch from the past. It's beautiful, right? Where there's an audience we're really getting upset about something that's security related. It's perfect. It's like it is product activation in XP. It is TPM, the original TPM in Longhorn or Vista, I guess. And I would say that MSA thing and the online requirement for Windows 10 Home, that's another very similar, it almost doesn't seem necessary, but it's like they're drawing a line in the sand. Partially, I don't know why, actually. I have no idea why they're doing that. It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
Here's Ryan Spooner on Twitter said, they literally don't add TPM onto all motherboards. I have a brand new X570 board without TPM chip.
Okay. Yeah, you can buy one. So you won't be able to use Windows 11. Sorry.
Yeah, but if you went to Dell or HP or Lenovo, could you specify no TPM2 in a checklist at buy time? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah.
Some are saying that TPM2 may not be universal, that there may be modern motherboards that have 1.2.
Yeah, 1.2 or whatever, yeah. That could be.
This Thomas Eklund, AMD Ryzen has built-in firmware TPM that can be enabled in the BIOS. So it seems like it's all over the place, right?
So
I think we need an explainer, Paul. Just saying, field guide to TPM.
Oh, no. No.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
One of the world's greatest pamphlets.
Should write. No, Raphael should write about it. Raph should do
when it was first announced, it was extremely controversial. There were also supposedly security issues with it. And some people thought it was, I remember Cory Doctorow thought it was all about DRM.
Yep.
But I have to tell you,
the Linux community thought it was all about Linux,
right?
And
Apple has been building in the equivalent chip into its
course.
machines for the last few years.
Yep. No, the idea is you want the thing to be secure from the moment, when it's off, right? As you turn it on, but in that special moment before the OS bootloader happens, it's designed to protect the computer offline as well as online. Offline meaning when the operating system is loaded.
Yeah, before it's got the OS booted.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was the thing
most phones have a similar secure enclave.
Yeah.
That's a selling point in modern flagship phones.
Yep.
So I guess I understand. So G-Man says in our chat room that firmware TPMs are firmware-based UEFI solutions that run in a CPU's trusted execution environment. So it is possible that you don't have a physical hardware module, but you are running in software.
Oh, because you can do it either way.
Firmware TPM.
So I wonder if that means that PC makers could update firmware in existing computers. Okay, there you go.
Black Sheep in our chat says nearly all PC motherboards have FTPM, which is firmware TPM implemented in firmware and switchable. Okay. Yeah.
Good. There you go. Yeah. That's great. So that makes it even better or less terrible, I guess.
Well, I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about this. This is right now the big hot button.
I want to bring up one big gaming thing that will not alienate Mary Jo. Right? And yes. So there were two big gaming features announced for Windows 11, one of which we already knew about, the one we knew about was auto HDR. Now, the thing, I haven't had time, but I don't know if you noticed, it's been a little busy today, but I'm going to go back and look at this because the wording today is auto HDR, which was previously announced, is only for Windows 11. It's not for Windows 10.
Oh, interesting.
Now that makes me wonder if I go back and look at the original announcement, will it say we're bringing it to Windows?
Yeah.
Or did they say Windows 10? Now, I don't know, so maybe someone out there knows. The other new feature is... not storage sense. I already forgot the name. DirectStorage, the fast storage. I forgot the name of it, but it's the fast storage feature. This is the one that requires a special designed SSD. They're going to be pre-installed with the right drivers on certain gaming computers from all the major players. That's another thing that is wonderful on the Xbox. It's one of the things that makes quick resume possible. It's fantastic. That's unique to Windows 11. I don't think that one was previously announced, but I wonder if anyone listening or watching now knows off the top of their heads or is looking at something now as I'm talking that says, if you go back and look at the original auto HDR announcement, if that was supposed to be for Windows 10, but the wording that I saw today in the post from today made it very clear this is specific to Windows 11.
So in March on the dev blogs, auto HDR preview for PC available today.
Yeah.
And obviously
so that would be Windows 10.
That would be Windows 10. And there was a way to enable it. If you have an HDR monitor equipped PC, you're good to go. And this is in March.
All right, so maybe it will be maybe it will be both for auto HDR then. And maybe just the wording today is just a little too specific and I'm reading too much into it. But I as I read it, I was like, this makes it sound like it's Windows 11 only. And I don't see any reason why Windows 10 couldn't do auto HDR or this other feature, frankly. But obviously, we're talking about new computers, special hardware, right drivers. They're going to use the newest version of Windows. That's understandable.
Oh, wait a minute. Jerry Nixon wrote this blog post. Never mind. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Poor
so that
Jerry.
never came up,
Jerry.
did it? The whole Windows 10 is the last thing that...
they just rose right above it.
Yeah,
as
they
that
should.
was what they should have done. That's what they should have done.
Yeah.
We should make Jerry Nixon effigies that we can bring to campus next time. That poor guy.
He's the one guy who said this is the last, Windows 10 is the last version of Windows. And he has now been proven wrong.
He's like, I can say it publicly. Yeah, we're all doing it. It's fine. And it's like,
Yeah. All right. Any other surprises in this announcement? Unexpected?
Well, it's not available right now. I don't understand that. Why isn't it here?
Well, soon. I mean, as soon as the 28th.
Next week.
Yeah.
Come on, next week.
Yeah.
That's pretty soon, right? Come on. Give them a chance.
How do you think it's already? I know they don't like this, but Gold Master, or is it still in development?
I would say, I mean, I think the way to look at it is it feature complete, right?
There you go.
And probably. I have to say, there's still work to be done. I don't like the way that tray area looks.
But you know what? Cumulative updates, just like what they do now, right? Like, just keep giving insiders cumulative updates, and they can add more.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe that happens in the dev channel. Windows 11 isn't even out yet, and someone will be testing 11.1 or whatever they're going to call it, and that will be. So that's just a little surprising to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's I mentioned that stuff with the start menu and how it's kind of static, and that has to change over time too. So I guess we'll see.
I'm very interested in the new Snap features. So Snap's been around for some time, but they now have a way of saving Snap layouts, proposing
Snap
layouts,
groups.
saving them, Snap groups.
Yep. I know. That looked cool.
Remembering what layouts you were using, and when you reconnect to the other monitor, the big monitor, turning it on. There's some nice features with that, I think.
And it follows a nice trajectory for Snap, because Microsoft has really been updating it and improving it over time anyway, right? So remember back in the original version of Windows 8, the Snapped app would be on one side only. Well, it could be on either side, but it took up it was a fixed width. It was a very small width. And then over time, they made it so it could be half and half, or then arbitrary. They added a feature called Snap Assist, where if you try to move one of the windows over to the side, you get a preview of the other windows that are available, and you can choose which one you want to snap. It's a nice feature, And now what do they call the feature when you mouse over the snap layout, and that will show you the various layouts that you can get. And nice.
Yeah, that's good.
And then Snap Groups, which is the thing where you have created a complex layout of some kind, 3 windows, maybe arrayed in whatever form, and it will save those, not just the layout, but the actual apps that are in that layout. And you get a thumbnail of those things, and you can pick the one, and the apps all. Yeah,
this is really an acknowledgement that we're all using much bigger screens, that we have a lot more real estate, and that organizing the real estate it becomes a kind of an imperative. I like it, and I'm a fan of tiled Windows managers, and this is a really nice way to do it. Kind of automatically do that. It's a great way to multitask,
especially if you have multiple monitors. Right? They showed that it would your screen layouts would be preserved, which is great. Right? I mean, all these little niceties that I'm like, okay, see, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I like these little productivity features.
Well, and I think that's a reasonable thing for Panos Panay to focus on. We're not going to change what's under the hood, because that would lead to compatibility issues. But we're really thinking about productivity and what makes you more productive, and we're improving the operating system from that perspective. Yeah. I think really that's all any modern operating system can do. Android, Mac OS, Windows, you can't change it too dramatically under the hood, but you can think about productivity, and especially with changing screen sizes and changing ways to work. So I think that makes a lot of sense. As you pointed out, Mary Jo, it isn't the Teams operating system that we thought it might be, especially when he comes out and says it's all about connecting. I thought, this is it. Here we go.
I mean, it's getting a button on the taskbar. How much more integration do you really need?
Okay, yeah.
No?
Right.
It isn't bad news for Skype, or is it?
They're saying Skype is going to continue at least until Windows 10 is no longer supported. That's what they said.
Well, that's not that's not very long.
Well, 2025,
26,
if you are running LTSC, which probably can't get Skype. But
okay.
Not dead yet, Leo.
It's not dead yet.
But this is how we were talking about Cortana 3 years ago. I mean,
I know.
I think that 2025 might be the line in the sand, maybe between now and then. What do we need to add to Teams to make you stop using Skype?
I know. Right.
And by the way, maybe we don't need the app. I mean, if this Teams integration just kind of works, that could replace Skype. And then the full Teams experience is for people you need it for business.
Right. And personal. If you're one of those people, like they keep showing in ads, soccer moms who want to organize their calendars with all their family members. I don't know who they are, but if you're out there and you want the full Teams app, you can get it. And use personal features on Windows.
What about are we going to have a OneNote for Windows 10 app and built into Windows? 11.
Yeah.
They did
OneNote.
show, I mean, when they showed the tablet portion, they were using OneNote.
Yep.
But I
did
wonder
show
if that
OneNote.
was.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's
but was
OneNote
that
for
full-
Android.
Oh, Lord. Bite
No,
your
it's-
tongue,
it's-
Mary Jo Foley.
No,
Bite
you
your
know,
tongue.
OneNote Web works just fine.
Right,
It's fine.
right. This is the reimagined kind of what did you call it? The daily feature, daily news.
It's called it's widgets now.
Widgets now.
The widgets panel, but it used to be called or Windows, not used to be. In
the
today
current
in Windows
version.
10,
Until
it's
yesterday.
News and was it
News-
the news and information?
News and
or-
interests.
News and interests.
News and interests.
But this struck me as like something we've seen already on mobile, and it looks like frankly, it looks like Google Now with the Now cards, which Google has abandoned, of course.
Well, it's like the Discovery feed, I guess, on Android.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the way it's running on a MacBook Pro. That looks nice.
Wow.
No, it's because it's meant to promote Bing and MSN. That's what News and Interests is, right? And
Is that what this will be, though? This new
yeah,
Yep.
this will be the
sidebar?
same thing.
Oh,
Well, look at what's up there: search box,
Yeah.
weather.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, these are
That's less than useful. They did imply the third-party widgets will be available.
Yes.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forget this Xbox Game Pass thing. Let's move on.
Hey.
Okay.
Enough of that.
No, we
We've
actually-
heard
no, we
enough
already-
of that.
We already covered it.
this. Yeah.
Xbox Cloud
And you-
Gaming
you
is coming
said-
to the Xbox app.
During the event, that this really is just the Xbox app, which is currently available.
This is it's right. If you want it, you can get it right now.
Yeah.
Hasn't changed at all. The UI they showed was completely the same.
Yeah. A PC for each of us. This is
Ooh,
just.
we're all getting a PC.
Yes, you get a PC and you get a PC.
Can I have the one in the middle?
That's a good one. That looks like that's the HP. It looks like.
All right. I hate to be a party pooper, but Paul and I have to go now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you got other things to do?
We have another little briefing
Okay,
thing.
there is one piece of news we want to give a little credit to. The one more thing, and I thought Satya Nadella might come running out and say, $2 trillion, bitch, we're worth $2 trillion.
I just starts spending money off everywhere.
That's a big landmark. Apple did it. The only other company ever to hit that is Saudi Aramco, the big oil company. Microsoft, a $2 trillion valuation is pretty good. And I have to say, after watching Panos doing his weird, super sincere, but kind of like hangdog thing, Satya comes out, he's cheerful, he's bright, he's excited, and I thought he made some really good points about what Windows does for democratization. I thought that was
some
well
fairly
done.
complex phrases, but yes, it was this notion that Windows has been the democratizing force in computing since the beginning. By the way, also kind of a little jab at Apple, right?
Almost entirely a jab at Apple. Come on, let's face it.
Okay.
He talked about personal agency and sovereignty, which is something he's been kind of on for the last year. I thought he really was a nice button to it. Some people say he should have been first, but honestly, that was the right place for it.
This is how you best use him. Yeah, I couldn't agree. But they've done this sometimes, but not always at conferences. I feel that him ending the show is the right way to do it.
Yes.
I just think he's just great at it. So
It was
nice.
Yeah.
All right. I know you, it's 1 minute till whatever the hell you have to go to do,
Sorry.
which apparently you can't tell me about.
Not yet. We can't tell you yet.
It's a
We know
secret.
nothing.
You mentioned and you linked Mary Jo on your blog, but real briefly, there is another event for developers this afternoon in a couple of hours, right?
Yeah, based on some of the briefing stuff we've had today, it's probably going to be a regurgitation of the developer blog post they have.
Okay.
But with Q&A, probably.
Okay.
So,
I hope there's Q&A. I hope people
or
can
hopefully
ask.
with Q&A. Yeah, I hope so too. Yep.
Good.
That's my guess. That's my guess.
Paul Thurrott, Thurrott.com. The Field Guide to Windows 11 in progress now.
With Mary Jo Foley.
With Mary Jo Foley, co-author, will be available at leanpub.com. And, of course, you can still get the Field Guide to Windows 10.
Your name could go first. No.
She's shaking her finger. Mary Jo Foley has way too much to do. And, by the way, in the race to file first, Mary Jo won. Obviously typing during the event. Or you
I
had
had
some
a little help from my friend.
You had some notepad out already. Sriracha was writing it. You'll find her filing all her information, and she's been very on top of this today at allaboutmicrosoft.com, her ZDNet blog. You two, thank you so much.
Thank you.
No beer this week, no back of the book. We'll do that next week. We do Windows
We're
Weekly.
high enough already, Leo.
High on Windows 11. We do Windows Weekly normally Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Tune in next week, and we'll see you then for Windows Weekly. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mary Jo. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you are interested in checking out all things smart home and Internet of Things, then you should check out Smart Tech Today, the podcast I, Micah Sargent, do with my co-host Matthew Casanelli. It's all about the smart home and improving your automations.